If you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Special thank you to Landmark Coffee Roasters, a sponsor for this podcast. If you haven't tasted their coffee, you got to go check it out. Some of the best beans in Southern California. LandmarkRoasters.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Raymond Gregory and the Stoked House. Dude, thanks for coming on the show. Ray, you are a pastor, now lead pastor. You are an artist, singer-songwriter, guitar player, worship leader for 20 years. You led worship for Harvest with Pastor Laurie, Harvest Crusades, and you have toured with your own music for many years. You're a guitar player, and a lot of your inspiration, George Benson, Eric Clapton, Stevie, Ray Vaughn. You love jazz, and I have to throw in John Mayer on there, of course.
Those others are just the ones you say because you don't want to say John Mayer.
Yes.
You're like, I don't want to say John Mayer because that's so basic.
Right.
So I'll say George Benson instead.
Yes. You love the Word of God.
Yeah.
And you are a preacher and a teacher of it. A lot of people don't know this, but you put together an elite band and did some shows of all John Mayer music, which I thought was super cool. And you have just recently accepted lead pastor position at Cross Church in Carlinville, Illinois.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You are married to Erin, 19 years. Is that right?
That's right.
And you have 3 kids, beautiful kids now.
Beautiful kids.
Praise God. Very recent adoption. Mm-hmm. Congratulations to you and your bride. Very special recent adoption. Love to talk about it if you want to. Raymundo, what I call you, you have the hair, leather jackets, and guitar playing skills I always wanted. You have been a blessing to me over the years. We've done a lot of ministry together, and you've been a good friend and a good brother to me. Dude, welcome to the show.
That was I'm glad we recorded that. I'm going to use that my first Sunday at my new church. Don't you know who I think I am, everybody?
I just saw a picture of you let me come to your House of Blues thing in Anaheim, and you let me share scripture on. Cool. I just saw a picture of that. It just popped up on my phone, and it's a picture that you posted, and I'm standing there in one of those pictures, and I've got the Bible on stage, the band's there, you're at House of Blues, and you're like, dude, come share some scripture. Come share. I was blown away.
Yeah, we were right in the throes of a really cool Sunday night service. You were preaching, I was leading worship. We had this beautiful band, and I remember the whole thing was, we're going to turn the House of Blues into a house of worship, right? And back in the day, it was at Downtown Disney, and over the stage was a bunch of symbols for a bunch of different religions, like Hinduism. I don't remember all the ones that there was a Star of David, but not a single cross on there.
Of course.
And I remember we went in there, and they wouldn't let us close the bar because, it's the House of Blues, and it was like the driest bar ever. Nobody bought anything.
They made no money that night.
Yeah. I remember I went and just tipped them like a bunch of money.
Nice.
Actually, I might have encouraged people, hey, go tip the people at the bar because they're not making any money. Somebody at the bar got saved that night.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Dude, praise God.
Gosh, that was really cool. And so I remember I'm like, we got to export some of what we do just at church right here at the House of Blues. And I remember you came and shared scripture the way you do, because we used to do that on Sunday nights. We would sing a song, break it down, you come out and literally just bathe people in scripture.
That's right.
It wasn't like I got this clever story or anything. Like, save that for later. We're just gonna, here's some scripture tied to the song. I remember I would just write in whatever the scripture was that tied into the song, and you would come out and just do it. And it was a pretty cool thing.
It was powerful because, again, it's like, I don't know what they'd done, verse, chorus, and like bridge or some type of breakdown. And then like the music is still going. And then I would walk up in the middle of the song and I would start just reading pure scripture. Yeah. But Ray and the team would still be doing music. So it is the Psalms. It's like, it's the music filling the scripture and ministering. And there's something powerful about, of course, hearing the word of God, letting it wash over you while powerful music is ministering as well. And it would just, I don't know, we started doing this thing, and it was special. It was different. It was something cool that we were doing there on Sunday nights.
It's like a balm for your soul. It's David playing for Saul. You never threw spears at me, so that was cool. But just David coming in and just,
You did soothe my soul.
Yeah, soothe the soul. And then we brought that to the House of Blues, which is cool. And we packed it out.
Yes.
It was, 800-900 people.
A night of worship at the House of Blues.
It was so cool.
Yes.
One of the highlights of my life, really.
Very
Truly,
cool.
Truly.
Ray, we've known each other, I think it's got to be like 20 years.
Oh, easy.
Because I remember when you were playing in, I remember Ray, who used to shred.
Mm-hmm.
This has got to go back. You had to be either high school or late or right after high school. Were you playing for hardcore bands, ska band? Yes. This is when we first met.
So we went to the same school.
Yes.
You were a year or two ahead of me. And you were the president of the Bible club. And then I think at the same time, I was the worship leader of the Bible club.
Yes.
It might have been true. And and then we did, those school outreaches. You talked about it on Steve Wilburn's podcast. Just doing the school outreaches. To me, that was just something that happened. I didn't know that it was such a unique thing that you guys were doing. I figured, every Bible club must do this.
Yes.
It wasn't. And I tried to carry it on after you left.
What year did you graduate?
2003.
Okay, yeah. So we're 2 years apart.
Yeah.
In at a high school, Ramona High School.
Go
Rams.
Yeah. Dude, I saw this. So I follow this 90s Instagram thing.
Yeah.
And it said, back in the 90s, we used to just plop trailers into the school and say, hey, go learn in these trailers, kids.
Yes.
And they were like dilapidated and falling apart. And I was like, yeah. And then they would remodel the football stadium 3 times in 4 years. So we can't afford to build buildings to learn in, but that was Ramona High School. The football team was not good.
Not good.
They never won.
Actually, they were never good. I got to correct this, Ray. This is important. They were never good until my senior year. Then we made it to the playoffs that year. Then the next year they made it to semifinals and almost won the whole thing. Yeah, so you're right though. We lost like everything for like 3 years, and we became seniors. We had just been losing. And then all of a sudden, my senior year, like everything turned. There's so much excitement finally. But yeah, we were terrible.
Yeah. Just that 1 year when you were there to save them.
That's it. That's it. We were the heroes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, dude, I remember. Now it's all like flooding back.
No way. I got to hear this, dude. This is like you're tripping me out because this is deleted from my mind, dude.
Yeah.
So you're leading worship at the Bible club.
I'm pretty sure it was the same time.
This is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, we were there together, and then when you left, they were like, "Hey, could you be the president of the Bible club?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, that's okay. I'll do it." And
it's amazing.
And so, in fact, I think the first Bible study I ever gave was at the Bible club at Ramona High School.
Wow.
I'm positive that's the truth. And then I was in a band with, you remember like Chris Lopez,
Yes.
Alex Lopez.
Yeah.
All these guys. And we would play like church retreats and stuff. We felt like rock stars because the kids like just loved it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I met my wife in that band.
Wow.
She was a saxophone player.
Yes.
Now, I was a punk rocker.
Yeah.
And I want to get rid of the horns.
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't need, no, let's be true punk, right?
Yeah.
I would call it, we're not ska, we're punk with horns, The politics of the day was you think it's bad now. Try starting a ska band. So
right.
we're in there and he's like, well, we got this horn player. We need a backup horn player. And I was like, we don't need any more. And so like for the first, few months, I'm like, she's dead to me. I don't know who this person is. And so we met, and the interesting thing is
you're a lead guitar player.
Yeah. I wasn't even. I would sing sometimes, but I would play, and we were gonna go places, much to the chagrin of my parents.
Wait, what was the name of the band?
Wrongfully Accused.
Yes, Wrongfully Accused. I remember this.
And I'm pretty sure everybody that came up through Harvest at some point was in that band. We had a lot of, it's a lot of people. It's a ska band, so it's like, an entire stadium of people in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, we met, and it's funny how God does things, and it's interesting how he works because my brother had died in April. And, in August, my wife's mom, unfortunately passed away at the age of 39, and didn't really care, didn't talk to her much, but then I saw that hurt. We were actually in the studio recording.
Wow.
And she comes in, and we were praying for her, and then we just start talking, and that's what brought us together, was that tragedy, so close together, knowing and seeing her pain. And we even wrote a song for her mom's memorial.
Wow.
And then God just something like the scales fell from my eyes. Horn player's not so bad.
Yeah.
Like,
whoa, there she is.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, that was it.
Did she go to Ramona as well?
She didn't. She went to Norte Vista High School.
Norte Vista, yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. So Ramona High School, and you guys were doing music. And how did you start this journey of guitar playing? When did you pick up your first guitar?
It was about 13 or 14.
Okay.
So my grandfather, he played guitar.
Junior high or high school? Junior high, freshman year?
Freshman year.
Okay.
Yeah, freshman year.
Your grandfather played?
He played. I went to a pawn shop and saved up all my money, spent $75 on this really terrible guitar that looked really cool, but it was really bad. Plugged it into my dad's karaoke machine. Yeah. And then turned it all the way up to get that distortion.
Sure.
Yeah. Just was learning. And then I also remember, he had these praise band books with like chords over the words and stuff. And my parents, my dad was a worship leader at one point. My mom sings, the musical family.
Right.
And they were asked to lead worship at Harvest for the disabilities ministry and the convalescent ministry. But none of them played, and so I just got an acoustic guitar and started playing those worship songs in these settings and learning basically how to lead worship.
Wow.
In these small little convalescent ministry, the disabilities ministry was an interesting thing because my mom, she worked with the deaf, was fluent in sign language. And so there was various levels of folks that would show up, and we would just lead worship for them, and they were thankful for it. And then I learned harmonies and started singing. It all kind of came together, And then I remember, because we had left a church plant that went kind of wrong. I mentioned my brother died. He was my adopted brother. He had HIV. And when he was diagnosed with HIV, we were in the midst of this church plant, my parents. And the board was like, oh man, we don't need this distraction in their minds. So they let my dad go. They put him on leave without pay, like to mourn. I was like, that sounds like getting fired to me.
Right.
And so we were hurt. And so we ended up going to Harvest. And Harvest, was, let's just get lost in the sea of faces.
Sure.
But then, my parents being who they are, they needed to serve. And that's where they served. So they went from, this church plant to convalescent ministry.
And your dad in the children's ministry world is basically a legend.
He's Teacher Ray, man.
He's Teacher Ray.
He's a legend.
You say Teacher Ray at Harvest, it's like...
Yep, and now at Calvary Chapel, East Anaheim, where we are.
Wow.
Like, he's so gifted at what he does. But before that, he was a pastor and a worship leader. I remember
Wow.
He says that children's ministry is the most important ministry at the church, and he's got something there. So we started serving there, and I remember coming to the church and not really wanting to, but there was this dude with long hair ripping the guitar, and he was the only guitar player, and he was like brand new. He just got hired early '90s.
Wow.
And his name was Hans Ives. He's still there, right?
Yes.
And I remember thinking, whoa, what is this? And I always used to get super bummed out when he would put down the electric guitar and pick up the acoustic guitar, because it meant like the soft songs were coming.
Right.
And there was not going to be any guitar solos.
Right.
I've never in my life seen somebody play a guitar solo in the midst of a church service, right?
Yes.
And, somebody might look sideways at it and be like, what's that? But for me at 13, 14 years old, it was everything. Like, because that's what I wanted to do. I admired that so much. And then here's this guy doing it, and he's living a God-honoring life, leading people in worship with it, and better than anybody that I've ever seen play in my life.
The man, the myth, the legend, Hans Ives.
Incredible. Just like spiritual giant, the impact that he's had on so many people, it's it's immeasurable, and he has no idea. He would be like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
But he's just super humble, right?
Right. Right.
And that was
He is a spiritual giant in your midst, and you don't even know it.
You don't, and nobody, everybody knows Greg Laurie's name.
Yeah.
Not as many know Hans Eye's names.
Yeah.
But I didn't know who Greg Laurie was when I went to Harvest.
Right.
I just saw the guy playing guitar.
Right.
And was like, oh, I want to be that guy, And so just sat there. I didn't go to junior high. They had junior high service. No, I'm not doing that. That guy doesn't play guitar solos. I want this guy, the white Kramer guitar.
Yeah.
With the tuning locks and everything. It was like everything I wanted to be.
And his solos are so tasteful.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's singing. It's always just enough.
Oh, yeah.
He never overplays.
Never.
Yeah.
And it's funny that God can use that, his diligence. I bet when he was practicing in his room on the edge of the bed, playing in bars and clubs and hating his life and touring and having all the drama with the bands, not once, I would imagine, did he think, I'm going to change the life of a 14-year-old kid, like change the trajectory of this guy's life.
Crazy, man. Praise
crazy.
God.
Yeah.
That is so powerful because, people don't know. I'd love to hear. I don't know if you know the story of Hans, but I don't know his story. I don't know the transition. I mean, I'm sure when Pastor Greg found him, it was just like, this guy, I got a rock star like in our church and he loves the Lord and this guy could lead us and now Hans is, like you said, he's impacted. His influence will impact generations of musicians, your sons' sons' sons, because of the work that he's done. And we pay honor to Hans because he won't pay honor to himself and he won't, he very rarely lets others pay honor to him, and so, and he's special and Ray is saying it. He's not just saying it. He's impacted him so deeply, transformed, his entire life and outlook and what a harvest leader what a harvest worship leader looks like, but even more so what a shepherd. He's a shepherd to hundreds, if not thousands of musicians.
Yeah.
And he's done it well. And he's done it he has rock star vibes for sure.
Sure.
But it's weird that he somehow deflects rock star vibes.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, it's really incredible. So you're 13 years old. You see Hans on stage doing this, and you're just like, I got to figure this out.
Yeah, because I was always in love with the guitar, and now I had there's a place to be used by the Lord playing guitar. That's crazy to me, and so I just that was like I need to go in woodshed. I need to go let's go. I need to practice as much, and so I would watch him, listen to. It's funny, my dad didn't want me listening to any secular music.
Yes.
Which is funny, I was able to watch anything I wanted.
Teacher Ray.
We'd all gather around, it's Thursday night, let's watch Friends, kids.
Yeah.
But don't listen to Metallica. Right. It's funny how it's that culture that
you could play the lead from the Rembrandts, right? You can
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was ingrained. That's ingrained in your head.
That's good.
I'll use that in messages, and people are like, I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
Right.
That's like forever. But no, don't. Corn, that's of Satan.
Right.
It's funny that neo-monastic, was it R.C. Sproul calls it neo-monastic Christianity, where it's like we're monastic in certain areas, but then we're free in other areas. But everybody's got their thing. I think.
So who were your bands? They're like, were you tabbing? Like, what was? Were you taking private lessons?
No, I never did. I bought a chord book, and then started learning scales, and then just learning riffs, and listening to what I Stevie Ray Vaughn was huge.
Yeah,
that every kid listens to that and wants to and can't do it, but tries as hard as they can. I listened to a lot of punk rock. Like some of the punk rock players were actually really good players.
MXPX?
Not really. The gateway drug was Blink-182.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Stuff. But then there's these underground Tooth and Nail bands like Sick of Change,
right.
Which is funny because Andrew Tremblay. Do you know who Andrew Tremblay is?
So
he's a worship leader now.
Yes.
It's funny to think but he was one of the guys.
Right.
yeah, gosh, Slick Shoes. That was a big one. I remember we opened for Slick Shoes one time, and it was
Did you really?
the best day of my life.
Yeah.
And my dad was a little worried.
Where are you guys at?
Oh gosh, it was like some church.
It was a church.
Some church that put on shows.
You remember the Grove used to put on shows?
Dude, lots of churches all over Riverside put on hardcore shows.
Yeah, underground shows.
And kids would get punched and beat up, and there's pits.
And then prayed for after.
And then they give the gospel.
We know you got beat up tonight.
Dude, it was
Oh yeah.
it was gnarly, but these churches allowed it.
Right.
And the scene, the hardcore scene was that straight edge thing.
I remember.
Yeah.
Cyanide Beach, Falling Cycle.
Oh, dude, Falling Cycle.
Yes.
So my brother worked at a plumbing supply, and then he goes, dude, he texts me, he goes, I'm working at a plumbing supply place with the guitar player from Falling Cycle.
No way.
That's what that leads you.
Oh, it's so awesome.
He seemed annoyed when I asked him if he's the guy from Falling Cycle.
Yeah.
You can only scream so hard for so long before it ends.
Right.
That's funny, man.
So you bought the books. You're self-taught.
Self-taught.
Wow.
Yeah. And then in college, I didn't know what to do, so I followed my girl. Erin went to CBU. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go to CBU too, live on campus. We're gonna get married soon, and I'll major in guitar. Well, that wasn't really a major you can do. So it was I'll major in music, performance, emphasis, guitar, and then I'll sing and get I got a scholarship and stuff. So I started learning. That's when I started taking private lessons. Started learning classical guitar, jazz guitar.
Got it.
Started going to Steamer's Cafe, which was a jazz club. And they had open jam nights. So if you brought like music or
This is in Orange County.
yeah, it's gone now.
Is it gone?
It's gone.
Me and Katie went there one time. I took her on a date there.
Incredible place.
Great place. Some girl was singing that night. I remember the band was just like, it's just this little, in the back, it's long, straight, narrow. Yeah, it was a cool club.
Right in there in Fullerton. And, so I'd work up the courage and go up and like play a jazz standard with these guys.
Wow.
It was just the most incredible experience.
You could just get up and go play.
Yeah, it's called open jam. And you sign up and you go. It's like an open mic for jazz players.
Oh, wow.
But I remember I would like practice all week, like, Blue Moon or whatever song we're going to play.
Sure.
And they'd roll their eyes because it's like the most basic song,
Right.
And then immediately after me, like a 12-year-old Asian kid would get up and just shred the place apart. And I'm like, and he didn't practice.
Right.
He's just like, it's like, I remember he brought up like a Squire guitar. It was like this cheap little, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Right.
And he just blows the place. He blows the roof off the place.
Right.
Just playing. And then I realized, I'm like, I don't think I'm cut out for jazz music.
Right.
I think I need to kind of start shifting in another direction. But yeah. So I then started writing songs in, while I was there in college.
Okay.
Met a lot of really cool people. Like, it's just crazy what you do at the music school. You meet these like incredible musicians. My roommate was a cello player. I hate being the guy to like drop the name.
Do it.
I don't want to be the guy.
Yeah.
But
the connections are great though in college. It's great.
No, for sure. But your roommate wasn't the One Republic cello player, Anyway.
Yes.
So it's funny because he was just kind of a nerdy cello guy.
This is Brent.
Brent Kutzel.
Yeah. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Brent Kutzel. He why won't you return my calls? No, so, we started a bluegrass band together.
Yeah.
We would go and bus
Wow.
in Huntington Beach on the pier. Me and my friend Erin and Brent. And I wrecked his car one time. Just crazy college stuff.
Yeah.
We were doing donuts in the parking lot. Wrecked his car. And he's like, my guy's going to kill me. He's like freaking out. And don't worry, man. I'll fix it. So we got it fixed before his dad found out.
Nice.
Just crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I remember, he was at my wedding. They were, they walked with me, stood with me. And then I started playing, different clubs and stuff, and he would come and play bass. And I remember we had a rehearsal one night, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, man, I can't make a rehearsal. I'm trying out for this band." I was like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Yeah, they're really big on MySpace." Remember MySpace?
No way.
yeah, like they got a lot of plays. I'm like, yeah, MySpace, really a MySpace band? He's like, yeah, no, I think they're going to go somewhere. They're going to sign a development deal with Columbia. And I was like, or something. And I was like, all right. He's like, yeah, it's One Republic. And I was like, I remember saying like, well, dude, man, I need some commitment from you, man. Like we got rehearsals.
Yes.
We're playing the Blue Cafe in Long Beach on a Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Yeah. Like, I need you. So he blows off the thing to come and rehearse with me.
Oh, I love it.
It was me and I think maybe Lauren it was Jason Ransom played.
Oh, wow.
Remember Jason Ransom?
Yeah, of course.
He called me the other day.
Yeah. Divided by 13.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You will know he's a guitar player by his amp.
You will know them by their amps.
Yes, yeah. And they'll know we are players by our amps. You know. He played with me. And we got to this club and showed up and literally zero people showed up to see us. And so we practiced some more. He blew off. Luckily, they let him come and try out again. And he did, and he got in this band. I was like, dude, this is not going to last. And then Apologize comes out.
Right.
And I'm like, uh-oh.
Right.
So much for Brent ever playing with me again.
Right.
Yeah.
Timberland and the whole thing, right?
Timberland, and they just blew. It was like the top played song ever.
Wow.
At the time. It was like the most popular song ever.
Unreal.
On radio. Crazy stuff. And then he started touring. They opened for U2 and all this kind of stuff. And we come back and hang out. And then one year he comes back, and it was the night before my first time playing the Harvest Crusade. We had written a song. It was in the aftermath of Laurie passing away. So it was the first crusade after that. And Greg asked us to write a song about Jesus weeping because he was going to speak on that. And so, Hans, Billy, myself, Steve Wiggins, Billy Batstone, we got together. We wrote this song. And so I'm hanging out with him hanging out with Brent the night before. And he goes, oh, what are you doing tomorrow? I'm like, dude, I'm playing Angel Stadium. He goes, oh yeah, I've never played that stadium before. I was like, dude, this is my life's culmination. I'm going to play at Angel Stadium. And you're like, I've never played that stadium before.
Right.
And I was like, well, do you want to? He's like, I don't know. Am I allowed? I was like, I think you're allowed. Like, yeah, just come.
Yeah.
Bring it. Let me find a cello. It's in storage. And so he gets a cello and shows up. And I said, hey, Brent's going to play with us. And Hans is like, okay. Let's do it. And so we practice. We're practicing in the dugout. I'm like, yeah, it's just basically this. And he's like, dude, okay. And he's just writing this cello part. And we're about to play for 50,000 people.
Crazy.
And he's doing that. And I remember because my dad took a picture of us. It was me and Brent wore the same shirt. And I was like, well, I'm not changing. You know, I'm the talent. You're just a cello player. Right? And then Stevie Curtis Chapman walks in and he's wearing the same shirt.
No.
And he walks up because he hears us practice and he's just standing there in the corner. He's like, man, this is beautiful. This is so great. And we're both geeking out like, Stevie Curtis Chapman, dude. This is crazy. He likes what we're doing and stuff. And then like some of the bands, they kept coming up and I'm like, are you from One Republic? He's like, yeah, just super humble dude, right? Like, oh my gosh. And so he comes up and he plays the song just up there, big hair, same shirt, cello. And it's one of the most beautiful things ever. And it happened in like 5 minutes. It's crazy. And then I think that's the last time I actually played with him, but
wild.
Yeah.
It's great. Ray, you've been able to sit in circles and in rooms with some pretty amazing musicians, influential artists. Like you just rattled off, no big deal, sitting in circles, songwriters of Hans Ives, Bill Batstone, Steve Wiggins, Brent's right there. Is this like when you think about the influence that circle right there has had, including you, it's like, like look what God has done, like really amazing, right? I mean, it's those are when you're saying that to me, like I'm the fan, like watching, like, dude, I can't believe you got to do that. I used to always tell Hans, like, let me know when you want to put me in, dude. I'm ready. I'll rip. I will go for it, Hans. Just turn off the volume, dude, and I'll just be up there. Like, I just want to be with you guys, because it's just, I don't know, I'm the coffee shop musician, bang on a guitar and bang on piano. My dad's a musician, organist. He was trained to play the keys and the organ when he was a kid, and then the grand piano and sings and worship leader and all that. But I was never trained. I never took the time to be trained. Got to lead worship for a lot of years, but dude, I was always watching from the outside, just like, these guys are my rock stars. These guys are these are the legends in my mind, that I see, and it's just amazing, dude, that that God's brought you through this, from leading worship in that Bible club, to like all of a sudden you're standing in front of 50,000 people and you're with all these, you know what I mean? Like these musical legends, and really pretty much played on stage with, I don't know, probably every Christian artist to ever, when the Air One, and everything was going off and Christian radio was at its peak, the bands that came through Sunday nights and the bands that came through Harvest, you guys are backing them up. You're playing with everybody, the biggest names in Christian music.
Yeah. And you learn real fast who the humble ones are, which, most of them are. Like, Stephen Curtis Chapman, I mentioned him. What a great man of God he is, so many of them just super humble, just love the Lord and want to, they have no complex, from Brent Cutzel down to, Raymond Gregory, at the bottom rung, there's something about music too. When you're a musician, you relate with other musicians in such a special, unique, it's like a special club that you're in that nobody talks about, you have your own lingo, you talk a certain way. There's a thing, you're a little bit dysfunctional probably to spend so much time doing something that's going to make you so little money, but to love it so much and to continue to pursue it and to become proficient at it. There's some level of dysfunction in your brain probably that leads to that. And we all share in that. And there's just is a beautiful thing when musicians get together, and then to throw in the love of the Lord, and the Holy Spirit living in you. Christian musicians especially have such a beautiful connection. There's guys that I'm thinking of one guy in particular who's his name is Chris. We met in college. Amazing pianist, keyboard player, gospel stuff. We used to do really cool stuff together. Hadn't seen him for 10, 12 years. Called him up for a gig. Showed up. It's like nothing changed. It was it was just an instant connection that we pick right back up as if we'd been friends for the past 10 years, hanging out every day. Something cool that happens with that, and it transcends stages and titles and all these kind of things. It's just like we're doing it. We're a part of this thing that God's created. It's so unique. It's set apart from anything in the world. Music, it could change your mood. It could, make you feel happy, feel sad.
Yep.
It literally marks time. Like I could go back and listen to a song. That's the closest to time travel that you could ever have.
Wow.
You listen to a song from a certain era of your life, and it hits you, and it takes you. It's like, boom, you're right back there. You
feel this. You smell. Your senses go off like back to that same moment. It's eerie almost.
It is. I remember sitting in my dorm room listening to this record. I remember getting ready for my wedding, listening to this song. I remember some of the hardest moments of my life listening to this song, and it literally transports you back in time. And God's given us that. We were talking about earlier, Martin Luther being a songwriter. Right. He's the great reformer, but for musicians, he's the great songwriter too.
Yes.
And he knew
Reformation Sunday this weekend.
It is. Is it this weekend?
Is it this weekend? This weekend, yeah.
What is this weekend?
Reformation Sunday, yeah. Which is like 505 years, 500 something like that, years since the Reformation. And yeah, this German monk not only nailed the 95 Theses to the Catholic doors, calling them to obey the scriptures, and became an outlaw, but he also was a songwriter.
Yeah, it's funny because he's a songwriter, but then he writes the disputations of the efficacy of indulgences and services. I don't even know what that means. Right. So you could do both, you know. And I remember seeing that. So he understood it, and he said music is the handmaiden of theology. And misused, music is a tool of Satan.
That's so good.
Because it's created as this way to glorify and honor God and to remember Him. To be able to take you back to these things, and then it's used in such evil ways too. But even people that are writing songs that aren't designed to glorify God, I think in some ways, based on how you take it in, still glorifies God. There's a song, we've been doing foster care for a couple of years now. And I remember I made a playlist every time I had to take our son to go visit his mom to kind of get him ready. The power of music, it's like, These songs, when he hears them, he knows, okay, I'm going to go see my mom, but he's going to come pick me up and we're going to come home. So I would play these songs. And there was one song the last time I dropped him off, and it was crazy. It was like this Haley Joel song, like nobody's ever heard it, It's called Two Places at Once. She's talking about this guy who's moved away, and his heart's there, but it's also with her, and she knows that he's eventually not going to be with her anymore. He's going to be in this place, and you're in two places at once. It's the whole thing, and beautiful song, talking about a relationship. But for me, in that moment, it was about my son. He's going to be there. I'm going to see him again. His heart's torn between his biological parents and me and my wife and our family. And the last time I'm dropping him off, that's the last song that plays.
Wow.
And so every time I go back to it and I hear that song play again, I'm not listening to a secular song. I'm listening to a culmination of all that the Lord has done in my obedience to take care of the orphan.
Yes.
And it brings me to a place of worship, even though it's a love song by a early 20s girl about a guy who probably cheated on her or something. I don't know, whatever. Right. But God can still use it.
Yes. Yes.
What the world meant for evil, what Satan meant for evil, God turns for good.
Yes. God made music.
God made music.
It belongs to Him.
It's all His.
And the enemy's just stolen it and used it for his own, ran it in the mud, and we get to take it back and redeem it.
Yeah. That's why I don't like that those hard lines of, remember the CD burnings? Everybody would like burn their old CDs. It's like,
yeah. There's a guy at Harvest that used to do it and call them stolen goods. He'd hand those things out and be like, thank you for the stolen goods.
Yeah. The burned CDs.
Yeah.
But like, that was the only way for like some of the Christian kids to get a hold of the music because their parents are like, that stuff's evil, you can't do it.
Napster.
Or Napster. Yeah. Like, well, I'll commit a felony instead of listening to secular music. How about that? That'll be much better.
Right.
But, so music's just given, and in all that is giving me just such an open mind to see like what can glorify God, whether you eat, drink,
Yes.
This was the verse.
Yes.
This was the verse Sunday night. I remember this, 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whether you eat, drink, or whatever you do it all for God's glory.
Yes. Amen.
And if you can't do it for God's glory, then don't do it.
Yes. Music is so powerful. Like, I don't know, for me, one of the first times I saw it was, it's probably 2 times. Like I saw Bono play in the U2 play in the Rose Bowl. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen Coldplay play many times. Chris Martin, watch him command a crowd. And then I saw the same thing happen with Freddie Mercury in Wembley on YouTube.
Yeah.
I was watching that, and it's like, yes, exactly. Yeah. And you're like, this is worship. Like something else is happening here. When like 50,000, 100,000 voices all shout in unison, it is almost the voice of God. It's the only times you get to hear the voice of God. It's like the image of God, all shouting at the same time together. And even if you don't agree with the words, it's like, is the voice of God the sound of 10 million voices? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not one single voice that you hear. It's not one single tone or inflection that you hear. It's not even a note. You have all these people shouting from different angles, and it makes this sound. And when it makes this sound, why does it level you? Like it doesn't even matter what it sounds like. If everybody just like, yeah, everybody just goes for it, for some reason it sweeps over you and it moves you. And these are all non-believing people I'm standing next to. And I remember when I was there in the stadium, and of course they're singing songs that I love, but I'm like sitting there, I'm just stepping back, and I just like literally start to worship. I'm just like, this is all for you. Like this is all meant for you. Like all these connecting these notes, connecting these chords, and all the instruments coming together. Like all this has been made for you. And I love that moment. That's why I still love going to concerts and experiencing that, because even though they may be singing, whatever lyric, and it may be a love song or it may be a this or that, it's like, it lifts me spiritually. And I heard music before I heard lyrics. I don't know why this is, and I still do to this day.
Yeah, same.
I hear the music first, it moves me, and then after a long time, the lyric clicks. And then when the lyric clicks and it's hitting the sound of the song perfect, and the words are actually connecting to the movement of the song and the emotion of the song, then I'm like overly moved, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it is spiritual. It's outer world stuff. It's not. Music has a way of doing that. It has a power on earth that seems supernatural to some degree. I love how you were sharing that about your son, and just like how it prepares him and how it can. I mean, you're saying 100 things there, that are not being said, but the musicians and or artists or those who love music who are hearing it are getting that download without you saying everything.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about music.
Yeah. Yeah, and God will be glorified.
Yes.
It's not like he doesn't need us to make light of his glory, but he chooses to use us to make light of it. We are his image bearers, and we want, if he's got one goal, it's to increase his glory, right? And Westminster Catechism is the chief end of man, right? Is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. Right?
Yes.
And
enjoy him forever.
Enjoy him forever. And the sad thing is, God is being glorified in those concerts, but they're not enjoying him forever. That's sad. He's being glorified. The rocks would cry out. The heaven declares the glory of the Lord. Freddie Mercury commanding a crowd, that's declaring the glory of the Lord. But no one there has that understanding and surrendered to enjoy it, truly enjoy it forever. It's a glimpse, and then it's gone. And that's what's sad about not using your gifts, your talents to glorify the Lord and enjoy him. To not do those things, again, he doesn't need you. So he will be glorified, and you're going to miss out on all that he has, which is tragic.
Yes. In the moment that someone figures that out, that my whole life is made to bring him glory, and we start doing that. It's not made to bring me glory. It's made to bring him glory. When I actually start doing that, I start firing on all cylinders. Like everything, that's when joy, that's when peace, that's when those things show up. We weren't made to drink glory. We weren't made to drink down all of this stuff. And if we drink too much of it, we get sick, right? But we are made to give him glory. And when the musician figures that out, it's like to play for his glory, to sing for his glory, to turn people, even a non-believer, a secular artist, who's able to stand on stage and secretly say, this is for you. This is for you. Like I'm trying, I want to use this gift to point people to you. For the worship leader, for the guy playing in House of Blues, for the guy playing in the stadium, it's like to realize the purpose of all of this. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what your craft is. If you can figure out, I was made to do this for God's glory and to point people to him. So when people look at what I'm doing and say, dude, that's incredible. It's just like, you know what? I'm just thankful that God's blessed me to be able to do this, and I love doing it for him. Yeah. Work for God. Don't work unto men. you bring him glory with what you do, and you'll always find satisfaction in it. You try to do it for the man. You try to do it for any other reason, and you just find yourself empty and dissatisfied.
Well, totally. There's been moments I've been leading worship, thousands of people. There was a season where I was really struggling with my faith, and you can't say anything. You're a main worship leader at a giant evangelical church.
Wait, you struggled? You had a time of struggle, Ray? As a mega church worship leader?
Believe it or not.
Hey, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and it's like,
I would never have that struggle, though. I mean, I never, not one time ever, not preaching on stage, never.
That's why you have a podcast and I don't.
I would never struggle on a podcast, Ray. Never.
Yeah. And there was moments of like, I'm singing, but I'm not myself intending to worship God, and delivering these things, and in my mind having a war with like, I don't even know if I believe this. I don't know if this is true. Leaving and going up to I remember leading worship, going up to my office, watching videos, trying to grapple with stuff from like atheists, tearing apart my belief system, and wrestling with that and thinking they got a point, but worship still happened, even though I was not in the right place to be doing it, because again, he doesn't need me.
Isn't that amazing?
He's just going to use me the way, that people say it's not your ability, it's your availability. I mean, there's some truth to that, I think. And if it were not for strong men of God guiding me and directing me and pointing things out apologetically and reminding me, it was in the aftermath of my son being born. I was dangerously underweight. I was not sleeping, not eating right, some level of depression in there, and some darkness. And then Satan gets a foothold and tries to tear you down. But if you let those things push you away from fellowship, that's when it gets dangerous, because that's what Satan wants to do. Still kill and destroy. He wants to get you alone and get you away.
Right.
But thank God that was not an option for me. And I had strong men of the Lord to walk with me through it and talk with me and not judge me in it, and say, I've dealt with the same things. And then once the light comes on again, you're like, oh man, like what a wretch I am, what grace gloves he handled me with, because he could have cast me out. I could have lost everything, and then, doubt's a healthy thing as long as it's a catalyst to draw you to truth.
Yes.
It's like Thomas.
Yes.
It's like Thomas. He missed church on the wrong day, man. Jesus showed up. Thomas wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he's, too much Netflix the night before or whatever, but
the women were there. I just taught it on Sunday. It was my text.
Yeah.
Matthew 28. It's crazy.
Yeah. And he wasn't there. And it's like, bummer. But he was there the next week.
Right.
8 days later.
Amen.
It wasn't like, dude, you guys are nuts to believe that. That's not true. I'm out of here. No, he stuck around. And God dealt with him so graciously. And then showed him his sacrifice. And he says, my Lord and my God. He had a moment of belief right there. Not only that, he missed because earlier he breathes on them the Holy Spirit, right? It's like, man, again, bad day to miss church.
Right.
Like the Holy Spirit. And here is this guy hanging out with Spirit-filled people, not himself in that saving knowledge of Christ yet, and still meets Christ because he stayed close, And I feel like that sometimes.
This is so good. It's not good that man should be alone. We cannot isolate. We become mad scientists, locked in our garage, locked in our own minds. We need people to be soundboards around us. And maybe a word for people who are listening who haven't had a soundboard in a little while. You find people who are safe. Yeah. Find some older men or women or peers even that you know and love, and they give them a call, shoot them a text. Just it's so important we're able to vent. It's so important we're able to just, even if we don't fully believe certain things, we just need to talk crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
Even though you're not crazy, you're just trying to work through your thoughts and ideas with other people that you can trust. And it's amazing how those godly men can help steer you and sharpen you and rub off the rough edges on you and really encourage you in the right direction. And you think that they're going to judge you, but what they do is they just see themselves in you.
Yeah.
And they say, I remember when, I actually had a time of this. You're like, really? You struggled too? Your marriage this too? You're with your kids this too? With ministry this too? And it's like, yeah, I did. And those are some of the most powerful times, right? We think that we're going to connect on the most holy moments, but we actually connect in the darkness more than ever. Our souls are knit together in the darkness, and healing takes place. And then we're so thankful for those humans, that stepped up to be there for us, to love us and serve us, and show us grace in the midst of that difficulty. And so, every single person in ministry, doesn't matter what level you're serving at, struggles through the ministry.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about it a lot, but it needs to be talked about more, because you have all of these people struggling and they think they're alone. They think they're the only one, but actually everyone around them is working through something.
Yeah.
And so it's so much more important to be open and honest with those that you trust, those couple people around you that you can trust. Let them pray for you. Let them encourage you.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Ray, you stepped into Harvest.
Yeah.
And you were inspired at 13, 14. And then how did you get on this worship team? Did you have to try out, or were you trying out through junior high school bands, or what? How did this happen?
Yeah, well, so I went to college and was writing songs, I was playing all over the place for whatever money I could make.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was getting married, and there was a job board. There was a job board, and a friend of mine replied to a position as a worship leader, and got the job, the small church. And I was like, you get paid to do that? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people will pay you to lead their worship on Sunday mornings.
Right.
It wasn't like an industry like it is now.
Sure.
I mean, maybe it was. I just didn't know about it.
Right.
I don't think it was.
I don't think so. I think it was pretty fresh.
Yeah. Guy with guitar, singing songs, the Chris Tomlin's Arriving record hadn't even come out yet. It was mostly like Tommy Walker stuff.
Right.
Praise band.
Right.
It was like entities. It wasn't like people at churches, right?
Right. Shout to the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. A Hillsong.
Yeah. Darlene was, way back in the day.
But see, the best version of that song was the Scalleluia. Shout to the Lord by the Insiders with a Z. I remember.
Shalleluja.
Scalleluia.
Scalleluja. Oh, Lord.
It's a real thing. There's part 1 and 2.
I got to hear this.
Part 1 and part 2, and the Insiders. And I remember weeping in the room to that song, that version of the song. Anyway, so I went and I started looking on churchstaffing.com. I didn't realize it was a thing.
Yeah.
My wife found this listing of a small church in Corona, and she said, why don't you respond to this? And so I did. We went and visited, checked it out. Seemed, I didn't know much about denominations or ministries or anything. I just knew, this is something I could do. And they hired me. I was 18. They hired me to be their worship leader.
Wow.
Part-time pay, but then it ended up being like full-time work,
Wow.
So I'm going to college. I got married. I'm leading worship. Man, that's the boot camp. Small churches with no resources.
Wow.
That's the boot camp. You learn so much as a worship leader, as a minister, as someone who has to lead other people. I was 18 leading people 40 years old,
Right.
Made a lot of stupid mistakes, dumb mistakes. But, I did it there, and God dealt with me there. So I learned so much about what it's like to lead a team. And it was just like jumping into the deep end of the pool. It's kind of like how I learned guitar. It's like, here's a guitar, start learning. Here's a ministry, start doing it. Start doing that. Did that for 3 years, and then I knew that the Lord was calling me to write music and travel and stuff. So I ended up doing that for a year and a half. And the crazy thing is, we would go to Harvest when I was not playing somewhere. So we go and just sit under the teaching and stuff. And then I was traveling, and I remember I was at a small pastor's retreat. I was asked to come for this pastor's board meeting thing and lead worship for them. So it was like me, it was like Ricky Ryan was there, John Collins was there, Ray Bentley was there. Recently he's passed away. A bunch of other guys I just admired so greatly. And I was asked to just come up, and I think they offered me like $100, and I was like, I'll come up and do it. I need it.
Right.
And I remember too, we went to this like little ski resort area, and they're like, all right, we're all going skiing. And I was like, uh-oh, I don't have money for that. And they were so gracious. Like, I remember, I think Ricky Ryan saw it in my eyes, like, oh, this guy's got no money.
Right.
So I was like, come on, I got an extra ticket. And we went skiing together.
Best, man.
And
shout out to Ricky. Jeez.
Man, what an amazing man of God that he is. Yeah. So much to learn from him. But I ended up on a ski lift with John Collins.
Wow.
Who was the executive pastor at Harvest.
Yes.
And he goes, hi, I'm John. And I'm like, oh, I know who you are. My name is Raymond. I sometimes, serve on the satellite worship team at Harvest. Whenever I was around, Steve Wiggins actually was like, hey, you should come help us with the satellites every once in a while. And so they let me lead worship with the satellites every once in a while when I was in town. And we got to talking, got stuck on the lift, talking some more. And then we just skied the whole day together. And that was just before Good Friday. I got back, and then Hans Ives calls me into his office, and he says, hey, can you play Good Friday? And I was like, yeah, I totally can.
Wow.
So I came and I played Good Friday, and he had me lead a song, and I was like,
wow,
interesting. Like, this is cool. I thought, I got another place to do gigs, right? And then Pastor Greg walks up, and again, like I didn't have this relationship with, like, I lauded Hans,
right?
And Greg was the guy that talked until it was time for another guitar solo, right?
Right.
And so he comes up and he starts talking to me, and we talked for like an hour.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, this guy's so approachable. And little did I know what was actually happening there. He was interviewing me.
Wow.
That's just how he does it. He doesn't. It doesn't happen that way.
Right.
The next week, Hans calls me in again. And he goes, hey, Greg wants to hire you. I was like, to do what?
Crazy, man.
Like, as a worship leader.
Wow.
I was like, you already have a worship leader. You have yourself, and then you have Steve Wiggins, and then Bill's popping in and out whenever he's not traveling the world, you know?
Right.
And I said, what would I do? And he's like, I don't know. And I said, well, how much would I make? He's like, oh, I didn't ask. This is 2008. And I was like, okay. And I said, well, like part-time? He goes, full-time. I was like, so you want me to commit to full-time? You don't know how much I'm going to be paid. He goes, yeah, that sounds pretty bad. Let me at least get a number for you on how much we're going to pay you. And I said, all right. So then I left. He calls me and tells me, and it was like embarrassingly low. But at the time I was like, okay, I could do this. So I remember I said, well, I still got to be able to do music on the side then, if that's cool with you. He's like, that's totally fine. Mm-hmm. You can share an office with Steve Wiggins.
Nice.
So I was literally sharing an office over there.
Nice.
I'm sure he loved that.
Yeah.
Having this kid come in and like, then we started setting up recording gear in there, and then slowly just pushed him out to where he was like working in the courtyard some of the days because I was so loud and obnoxious.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And he was like, find some young kids. Everybody on our worship team is over 40 and just trying to start raising up the kids. And so I was like, all right, cool. So I would play Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings with Hans, and then go into the trenches and start a youth band, so like a junior high band.
Right.
And I remember one time standing on stage with a bunch of kids. Zach Esposito was the bass player.
Wow.
Hair in his face.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm literally playing and pointing on the neck where he's supposed to go next.
Nice.
As we're playing.
Nice.
I remember thinking, I'm like, what am I doing in my life right now?
Yeah.
I was skiing up here,
right,
having a good old time. Now I'm playing with these kids. And I remember all their parents standing in the back watching them and stuff. And I think the best bookend for me at Harvest was that same team. It was like Jake Garcia, Mary Ives, singing. I can't remember who else. Oh, Blake Ormonde was playing.
Yes.
He's a worship pastor now.
Yes.
Zach Esposito. And in 2015, 15 or 16, somewhere around there. That was the Crusade band.
Wow.
You know,
Full circle.
and I was like, Joe DiGirolamo,
Right.
and it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, dude.
Incredible.
Everybody in the Little Onion, on the hill at Harvest, it was like this temporary building for junior high, raising them up, just giving them opportunity.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was like, doing,
Right.
I don't feel like I did much, but
You discipled them.
that was it. Yeah. And, and then we're there on the platform there, and I was like, I think this might be coming to a close. This might be it. And it was all the while doing Sunday nights after you took off.
Yes.
Hurt us so.
Yeah. Sorry, Ray. Yeah, no, it was a crazy season, but yeah. Well, looking from the outside and watching, it's like, I remember this punk rock guy, turning into this John Mayer, worship leader, and then leading at a massive capacity. And when it clicks for me as a musician is when I watch effortless play meets effortless singing meets no more focusing on the music and now just focusing on God and more focusing on the people and how to get them close to God. When that clicks and you see that in a person, you're like, okay, it's the work is completed, and now it's time to put, the boosters on this rocket and just let it take off. And that's exactly what happened. And it's crazy I didn't know that stuff. I didn't know about You and the Onion with the kids. And in each of these, if, Zach is a ridiculous bass player. Mary Ives' voice is like angelic. Jake Garcia and Mary got married, and Jake's playing for big bands now and doing all kinds of stuff. And
he's touring with Phil Wickham now. Yeah,
touring with Phil Wickham. All of these guys, so it's and gals. And so again, for you to disciple and spend time and then watch God do something there, it's a trip, man, to look back on. And we did. We got to minister a lot on Sunday night together. And I'm sloppy, man. I mean, I'm like trying to figure out as well. I'm like, from Steve Wilburn high school ministry to Mike Jonker college ministry, to Sunday nights trying to take over for Steve after he had planted and trying to figure that out with our young team, all the young pastors. And I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm just like swinging for the fence, and doing the Woodcrest campus at the time as well. And like we were talking about it earlier, it was like Greg, praise God for Pastor Greg. He was just like, here's the keys of the Ferrari. Like, just don't wreck it, and here's a crazy sound system with crazy lights and a who knows how expensive, sanctuary. Like, there's no supervision. We're watching online a little bit, but you guys just go for it. Like, go for it. Like, do your thing. Like, let's just see what happens. And so we started testing it and just trying to, it was the outreach service Sunday night. We were trying to bring people into the church, young families, young people, and love on them, shepherd them, disciple them, teach them the word, draw them close to God. We started small groups on that night. We started doing outside services. We were doing outreaches. We're teaching through books of the Bible. Ray and I are doing all kinds of, we're just trying stuff. Like, we should do this. What do you think about that? And we're just seeing what would happen.
It was crazy because I remember Greg tapped you to do it, to start preaching at it. And it was always his way. It was always like, hey, why don't you give a message? Okay, now why don't you give like a 4-week series? Okay, why don't you teach through a book? Remember that? And I remember you kept going, you keep letting me do it, like, so I'm going to do it. But then I had like this bird's eye view of like all these other young pastors that were waiting in the wings.
Sure. And
I saw, and it's impossible to avoid, there's a level of competition there, right?
Sure.
Even though you love each other and you're in this together, there is like, he's doing the thing that I want to do.
Totally.
And I saw you leading this thing. I remember you said, I'm not leading this thing. He just said I could preach at this thing. And I remember I'm thinking in my mind, like, I think you're leading this thing. Like, he's the guy leading this thing. And then very slowly it was like, oh, no, Josh is leading this thing. And I saw reluctancy to jump on board with that, you remember that?
Yes.
And there was a lot of backroom kind of, not drama, but,
Totally.
a little bit of drama.
Yeah, we argued a few times.
Yeah, it's like, well, this is the guy that the lead pastor hasn't tapped to do this. And so I had to make a decision, like, am I going to join in with the chorus, or am I just going to jump behind him, and do what a worship pastor is supposed to do, or what a worship leader is supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to lift up the arms of this dude so so we can fight the battle. So I remember making that decision was very pivotal for me. So, and we went out to lunch. Remember that? And I remember because I had some songs on the radio that were popping, and so I had a good relationship with what's the radio station? KSGN or KSGN.
Yes,
was the Riverside station.
Okay,
and their whole thing was making a difference.
That's right.
Remember that?
Yes, we launched a Making a Difference series.
So I said, hey, you should do a series called Making a Difference.
Yes.
In our culture.
Yes.
And because it's their tagline, I'll say it's sponsored by KSGN, and they'll talk about it. And so I went on the radio every week.
Was that like a 4-week thing or something we did?
Yeah, it was like a 4-week thing. Yeah. And then we brought out bands.
Right.
Because we had this beautiful thing where it was like, Greg said, here's a budget, man. Just like bring out bands if you want to bring out bands.
Yeah.
And so we brought like Cutlass.
Yes.
Audrey Assad.
Yes.
Oh gosh, I don't remember. A lot of bands.
Yeah.
And so I went to the radio station. I said, dude, we're bringing out big bands that your people love to listen to. And our pastor's going to preach a series on making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Let's partner on this. And so they would promote it. And remember, look, we did a Super Bowl Sunday. I don't know why I remember this stuff. Remember we did a Super Bowl Sunday with Cutlass, the worst Sunday to try to bring people out to.
Yeah.
And then like over 2,000 people show up.
Yes.
Remember you gave that altar call?
Yes.
And just hundreds of people came forward.
I have the picture. I'll throw it up on the screen if we can remember it. Somebody on stage, I don't know if you took it. I don't know who took it. Somebody took a picture because it was like this surreal moment.
Yeah.
And it was like, because dude, rewind, like when Greg asked me to do Sunday nights, I was like you always want the position. Like you're always stoked to like have the opportunity until you get the opportunity. Mm-hmm. You're like, I want to do that. 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 And then it's like, okay, you're the guy. You do it now. You're like, oh no, like I don't even know if I can do it. Is anybody going to show up? Like, I'm not Greg Laurie. I'm not Steve Wilburn. Like, will this work? Like, it's like you always want the opportunity until you get it. And then you're like, oh no, like now I really have to like, God has to show up. Something has to happen. And I struggled probably for a year and a half, 2 years. I don't know how long it was, but I could feel that turmoil obviously around me. And I was trying to be obedient, be faithful. But it was a combination of things that started to unlock all of that. First, I'll never forget John Collins showing up one Sunday night to come and hang out with us. And I don't know why, but he pulled me aside right there on the side where the curtain's at. And he's like, let me pray for you. I'm like, okay. And he prays this prayer. Lord, I just pray that you would give Josh freedom to just go and just preach just whatever you've put on his heart, that he doesn't feel any pressure, he just prayed this like freeing prayer over me. And dude, it was like when that clicked and then I felt supported by you and then I felt the brothers start to come around.
Yeah, they're good. It
was like everything started to lift. And then dude, when that happened that night, I think it was Cutlass who came out, but like 200 people come forward. And like we would do altar calls every Sunday night because it's like, this is the outreach service. It's like, I got to do it.
Yeah.
So, we have 5 people come forward. We got 17 people come forward. We got, 8 people come forward, big night. We got 25 people came forward, but it's like, it broke the lid. It was just like, oh my gosh, it worked. And I'm telling you the truth. I didn't feel like there was anything spectacular about that sermon. Like I knew it was a very basic, simple sermon. Like there wasn't anything extra. There was no extra sauce on that thing, and something broke. And I remember somebody took a picture of it and it was a magical night. And from that moment on, this Making a Difference series and all of that happening, it's like, I felt free. Like something on Sunday night just started to build. And,
well, then you said, we're going to Genesis or whatever. Was it Genesis?
Genesis, yeah. In the beginning, God.
And you just taught the word
from
there on out. And it was cool, because you come down off that mountain a little bit and then it was like this core group and it's just like you showed a lot of grace to everyone underneath you and around you. we never felt like we were underneath you, you know, and it always felt like we were with you, you know. That was really cool. And I remember any opportunity that you had, because you knew what their hearts were beating for, to get them on the platform to share the word.
Yes.
You would do that. And at our Christmas concerts,
Yes.
we would build services around being able to do that. You know, letting them step in for you when you were gone.
Yes.
All these different really, really cool things that were going on. And then we were still meeting at 5 p.m. Remember that? Because that's when Greg wanted it to be at 5 p.m.
That's right.
And then you had the freedom after that. And I remember you came to everybody, you said, you know, I really want to reach young people. I want to reach like college age, and they don't want to go to a church service at 5 p.m. And I remember thinking, well, I mean, we got like 800 people coming at 5 p.m.
Right.
If you move the service time, a lot of them are going to be displaced. And you're like, yeah, but God's calling us to reach young people. And we moved it to 7 p.m. Remember what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, well, the people went away.
Yeah.
And you're like, uh-oh. No. But you didn't waver. It wasn't like, oh, just kidding, back to 5.
Right.
No, you knew what the Lord called you to do.
Yeah.
And then, like, all of a sudden, 7, 8, and then we were just talking about before.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 people showing up. There's
Yeah.
1,200 people. We're doing this special summer series outside in the courtyard. There's 1,000 people showing up. We're doing a candle. Remember, we did a candlelight service. This was the first time Harvest ever did a candlelight service for Christmas Eve, because it was the night before Christmas Eve. We did a big old thing. Marty Getz came out and sang, you know, all these crazy things. And out of just listening to the Lord, knowing what He's called you to do, and being willing to take the hit. And man, that taught me so much, you know, because you knew what you knew. You had your finger on the pulse of what you wanted to happen, and it happened. And it was young people. And then giving went way down because it was young people.
It's true.
All those little things, you know.
It's true.
You have to wade through. It was like another boot camp.
Yeah.
If I have to look at like certain eras of my life as like boot camps for the next thing, like that small church was boot camp for leading a team and building a worship team. Sunday night was a boot camp for like how to, you know, step out in faith and take something that's really not yours, but make it yours. And then when God called you to plant Legacy, I was left, and that was the boot camp for learning how to be a shepherd when the shepherd is gone.
Yes.
You know, and every season is preparing you for the next season. I hate the whole idea of like the glory days, because that's just not, to me, not biblical. You know,
Yes.
It's like there's moves of the Lord, and we need to raise an Ebenezer, put a memorial stone, or we need to remember those things.
Sure.
But stop visiting those things as if that's all that the Lord's going to do.
Yes.
You know? And so I learned so much through those seasons of like, okay, God's going to constantly be changing and moving people and shaping things the way He wants them to be. And then you're out here. I remember I got the opportunity to come out and lead worship one time.
Yes.
And just to see what God did. And the crazy thing is how Greg is so gracious too. Like the way he plants churches or helps church plants. Here, take a whole sound system.
Right.
Oh, I'll announce it on my radio show that there's a church coming.
Yeah. Email blast.
I'll do an email blast to hundreds of thousands of people in SoCal.
Yeah.
I'll come and preach your first Sunday.
It's the first sermon.
To get people to show up, because I'm
unreal.
You know, I'm Greg Laurie. They know me and they can trust me. I'll put my hand on you and pray for you and say, this is your pastor now. And instantly you have 200 people at your church.
Amazing.
That you're able to shepherd.
Yes.
All after giving you an opportunity to preach every Sunday night.
Yes.
For thousands of people. Unreal.
It is unreal. And it's surreal for me to step back and see, man, that we got to be discipled in such an amazing church, in such an amazing place. Every church has its problems, but man, we got to be in Calvary Chapel Riverside, you know, Harvest Christian Fellowship with all the legends, dude. And like, watch Pastor Greg be faithful for 50 years in the gospel. Watch him give so much opportunity to so many. The worship teams that have come through, the pastors that have come through, that have touched our lives, the just the people behind the scenes who have ministered faithfully for so many, like, like if someone has been serving a harvest for like 15, 20 years, you already know who they are. Like they are a special, specific type of person. If they show up to serve at your church, forget about it, man. It's a different person. And we'd have the blessing. And you're right, Ray, when I left Sunday nights, they handed Sunday nights to you, and you were leading and trying things. And this is when really you felt the calling start to come on your life from transition, or even, I shouldn't even say transition, but evolving really, worship leader into pastor. Yeah. And worship leader still. And you were doing this. You started to shepherd the people on Sunday night.
Yeah. And it was, people might look at, oh no, Josh is leaving as like, this is the end, but what it became was another moment, like sitting and watching Hans play guitar, sitting and watching you preach and going, well, maybe could I ever do that? You know what I mean? You encouraged me to share in worship. We're talking about it again before we need a pre-podcast.
Yeah. We actually had a microphone set up, so Dave's going to play the clip now.
Yeah, there we go.
No, we didn't.
You encourage, like we were talking about at the House of Blues, where you would come out and read scripture. After a while, you're like, you know what? Why don't you just do it? Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. And so I started doing it. And then when you left, probably because you knew you were leaving, which is like, maybe not, I don't know. But then when you left, it was like, that's what I did, and and really got a heart for shepherding people. Because like the stage thing, you do that for so long, you know what works, But when you're one-on-one with people, it's a whole different story. And so it changed again. It went from 7 to 5 p.m. again because Greg wanted it back at 5. And so we the demographic changed, and I said, okay, well then we're going to focus on young families. And just so happens that the young families of the area were mostly single moms in Riverside, especially at the campus there. And people who maybe were working on Sundays. And so we looked at that and we were like, okay, so 3 things have to happen then. The kids have to love coming to church. Those moms, those kids don't have dads, those moms don't have husbands. So the church has to step in and be those things. And so we really looked at that. It was a lower, income area, Riverside. Right. And it was a rough time. So I said, okay, well, we want community to happen. So we'll do a 5 p.m. dinner and we'll make it $2 or $2.50 or whatever. So I got a food team to cook all the food together and we started cooking food.
That's awesome.
So for a family, a family of 4 or whatever, it would be $10. That's because you don't want to come to church and have to spend more money.
Totally.
There's plenty of places that bleed you for your money.
Right.
And so we took a loss on it but it was beautiful, and they made it was a beautiful time because now there's people serving and learning to like cook and buy food and all this kind of stuff. We got bouncers for the kids. We got like all these activities. I saw my wife come alive in her ability to serve the church. It used to be like more of a support. I'll support you in doing it. And, but now it was like, I'm going to step into my role. I'm good at these event planning things. We had this idea to do birthday nights because these kids, my kids get birthday parties. That's just something we do. We do birthday parties. These kids never had a birthday party.
Wow.
They can't afford, it's expensive to do a birthday party.
Right.
Well, church, Harvest had the resources. So we would do once a month. We get video game trucks and characters and things, and we would print invitations, so the kids could take invitations home to invite kids to their church birthday party. We'd reserve tables.
So cool.
Get cakes, and dude, those nights were crazy. We knew it was birthday night. It was going to be like popping off.
That's so cool.
And so they'd bring their family and their friends, and then they go. And we'd bring them up on stage, sing happy birthday, all this kind of stuff. Such a beautiful, simple thing, really. I
love it.
And they would do it. And then we ended up doing like oil changes for single moms on Mother's Day. Did a dinner for them. And a brother in the church offered to shop up and took the cars over, started changing oils in the car.
Wow.
all the while. And then they'd come and they'd hear the word of the Lord and worship the Lord. And then we revamped, talking about Teacher Ray, the legend.
Yes.
We revamped with Billy and Bonnie York, who are legends in their own right, just faithful servants. We revamped the children's ministry to where the kids were learning the same thing that we were learning in the sanctuary. And my dad would fashion it to be kid friendly. And in order to get your snack at the end of the night, you had to take a voucher and you had to ask your parents, what did you learn about in church today? It was like 3 questions. What was the message about? What did you think about this? And something else, I forget what it was. And then they go get a snack and stuff. Wow. So it was like bringing parents and children together. And I remember that all happening in concert and just really beautiful things happening. And that's when it just clicked. I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. You're pastoring.
Yeah. I want to pastor, and looked at like planting, because Harvest, a lot of guys were going out and planting. You were the first. Well, I guess Steve Wilburn was the first.
Steve was the first, yeah.
And then you, and then Erin Adame went and took over a church that was in need of a pastor. Daniel Hooper went over.
Ryan.
And Ryan went with him.
Yep. Jason Powell.
Jason Powell went and planted.
Mark Finnegan.
Mark Finnegan, that's right.
Brad.
Yep. And Brad Jr.
Yep.
All these guys came out and all got the same,
right.
the harvest treatment.
Totally.
The SBC helped out.
Yes.
And so I looked at them, I was like, okay, am I supposed to do that?
Right.
Started reading Center Church by Tim Keller.
Yeah.
And,
yep.
We met, had coffee, and
Yes.
I talked about it. We were thinking about I think it was Las Vegas is where we were thinking about going. My wife did not like that.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily like that. And there was the words of Greg that, it's like, have you wept over that city? Like, do you have a real heart for those people? Or is it just this is not a startup. This is a church plant. In fact, Greg, I think always kind of struggled with the idea of like church startup or church plant, because it never was a thing until recent.
Right.
In his mind.
Right.
Right. It was more like go start a Bible study and then see it grow.
Right.
The Chuck way.
Right.
And that hit me. I was like, okay, no. And then after, talking with you, you said you were going to master's seminary and talked about, you don't want a doctor or a brain surgeon that's doing brain surgery that hasn't read the books to do brain surgery.
Right.
And that hit me too. It's like
training.
Yeah, you need training.
Yeah.
Not that you can't do it without it.
Well, you could do it if you stand next to a surgeon and he invites you in the room every day and you get to watch him do it and he teaches you how to use the scalpel. But if you don't have access to that, then you should probably go get trained.
Yeah. And so that's what led me away from Harvest. There was kind of I don't know if it was an unwritten rule where like the worship leader would not be a pastor at the same time. It was just kind of a thing. I think they had maybe some issues in the past. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I became an elder. They let me become an elder, which it was really cool. But it just seemed like, okay, there's no way to step from this, because the capacity at which you're doing the worship leading at Harvest is such a high capacity to now step into a pastor role when you know nothing about that. Like it just didn't, so I had to find another place to go. And so I ended up going to Calvary Chapel, East Anaheim, where they ordained me as a pastor.
Wow.
So I was a teaching pastor, teaching a lot, and then leading worship, and then standing next to a surgeon.
Right.
It was a guy that I got to see, work.
Yes.
And be a shepherd and teach the word. And then I went back to seminary and got my, worked on my master's over the past 5 years. And it was just another boot camp.
Yes.
It was just another time to be prepared. I think of like Paul, he's called on the road to Damascus, right? And we think, because of the way you read it, he got called and it was cool, and then he became the powerhouse guy.
Right.
The father of the faith,
Right.
It's not how it happened.
Right.
It was like, anywhere between 11 and 13, 14 years.
Right.
Before he actually went on his first missionary journey. We don't get to see, him sitting under the the apostles.
Right.
We don't get to see him working out, okay, I know the law, but tell me what Jesus taught,
Right.
We don't get to see all that stuff, and a lot of people won't. But we do get to see the fruit of that. And then he goes with Barnabas. It's Barnabas and Paul. And then all of a sudden it's Paul and Barnabas. And, beautiful.
Yes.
And that's how I feel in those seasons. It's like, yeah, God's called you to do something. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to just go out and do it right now.
Right.
Are you ready for it yet?
Right.
And if the answer is no, then get ready.
Yeah.
Find a place to get ready.
And Paul, he was pre-trained by Gamaliel, and he was a master of the language. He wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. And you look at his writings, and they're incredible, from those languages. He was an expert, and he was also a Pharisee of Pharisees, so he knew the law better than anybody. So he knew the Old Testament very well. He knew the Bible extremely well. Yeah. He just didn't have the Spirit of God in him to unlock it. So once the Spirit of God shows up, it unlocks all of those texts that he has memorized. And then he goes, I think, to the deserts of Arabia. I think it's there in Galatians. And it says he spends like 3 years with Jesus, the risen Lord, that he is somehow getting spiritual downloads by the Lord Jesus revealed. He got to see the Lord. He actually saw Jesus with his own eyes on the road to Damascus. And then also he was trained by the apostles. So yeah, this guy, you're right. There was time before he stepped out and became this giant of an apostle who went and planted all these churches and did all this great work. But it's not that God can't use John Bunyan, the tinker, the shoemaker, to write Pilgrim's Progress, the greatest piece of literature probably in Christian history. Yeah. He can and he will use the blue-collar man. He can use... But if we should never stop learning. We should never stop growing. We should never stop being discipled. And so why not, man? Even masters, I was kind of a black sheep in there, but I'm like, what can it hurt? What can it hurt just to try and learn more, to grow more? And I know how to spit out bones and chew on the meat. Like, we can do this. I can figure this out. And gosh, I love it. I love learning. I love growing. I love sitting under men. I love all of this. And the same thing with music, Ray. You laid the brick with music, and then when the Spirit of God meets that, it's amazing what happened, the sparks that go off. And then it's like you take time and you're like, I'm going to train and prepare, and then to be a pastor, and I'm going to do what I can. When the Spirit of God shows up and meets in that, it's like, boom, great things happen.
Yeah. And, it's one thing when you're talented at something too, when you're good at something, to not let that talent run away, because, I tell people that, you got to be careful, because if you're not careful, the first thing you're great at will become the only thing you're good for. The first thing you're great at will become the only thing you're good for. So in my case, he's great at guitar. So that's what he's good for. Oh, he's great at singing and playing guitar. Well, that's all he's good for. Oh, he's pretty funny or whatever. He can say stuff. Well, that's what he's good for, And then you start to get great at certain things, and you think, well, me being great at these things should just carry me. It's fine. I'm good at turning a phrase. It's like the songwriter in me. I could say something really powerful that sounds kind of biblical, and we can go for it and probably grow a church or whatever. But man, there's that obedience behind it. It's like anybody can get up and be good at communicating, but it's like to know the word, to know doctrine, to know theology, to know your Christology, to understand the weight of what you're delivering to people,
right?
To a point where you really need to be ready. It's like going back to Paul, saw Jesus. That could have been enough,
right?
Dude, I saw Jesus, like blinded me, all this kind of, just rest on the story.
Right.
And I know the Bible well enough, so here we go.
Right.
But it's that humility to say, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for it yet. And then also being willing to realize that sometimes God's not calling you to bigger and better things, but he's always calling you to better things. We always want to go bigger.
Wow. That's good.
I remember when I left Harvest to go to Calvary Chapel. It was a smaller church.
Yeah.
Still a big church.
Right.
People were scratching their heads like, why would you do that? Isn't that a step down? And it's like, no, it's a step toward better things. Because I know what God's called me to do, and this is the way he's accomplishing it, you know? And, you know, yourself leaving the 1,200 member Ferrari
Right.
to go plant in Studio City.
Right.
People might scratch their heads and go, why would you do that? You had it great.
Right.
You know, that's not bigger,
Right.
but it's better. Look, look where it's brought you now. You know, this is the church your kids are raised in.
Right.
That's all they know. They don't know. They don't know what you were doing.
They have no idea.
They don't know who Cutlass is. I don't care. You know?
Yes, it's so good.
Yeah, you know. But they do know Dad follows this, you know, what the Spirit says, and he goes and is diligent in it, you know. And I want my kids to see that too.
Yes.
You know, I want my kids to see that uncomfortable faith. Because they've seen a lot of comfortable faith.
Wow.
They've seen a lot of easy ministry.
Right.
You know? That's why we started fostering. And part of the reason we started fostering, you know, it's hard to have kids that you love and then to have them ripped away. It is literally the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And you look at that and it's like, why would you go through that? It hurts. But, you know, I'd rather be in pain at the center of God's will of my life than to be at peace outside of it. When you're at the center of God's will, even if you're feeling pain in those moments, that's a way better place to be than kicking back, but you know you're not in his will.
Right.
You know you're not following the call.
Not doing what you're supposed to do.
The purpose of life isn't to avoid pain.
Wow.
We think it is. That's kind of, I mean, I think COVID showed us a little bit of that.
Right.
The only thing that matters is not dying. The only thing that matters is not getting sick. Going back to Martin Luther, Black Plague, 60% of Europe dying.
Wow.
What does he do? Opens his home to bring in plague victims because the hospitals are overwhelmed.
Wow.
And still preaches on Sunday.
Amazing.
You know, because he's not trying to avoid death. He's not trying to avoid pain. In fact, he lost, in the midst of all the stress, he lost a child. You know, he lost a child in the womb. It's funny, Martin, he's at the front of mind because we talked about Reformation Day coming. But there's many others, you know, George Mueller, you know, people choosing the hard thing, but then seeing God glorified in those things because they're enjoying him in those things.
What has the Lord shown you and Erin, like through adoption? You know, this is what I love about you, Ray, man. You just keep taking risks for the kingdom. And God seems to meet you, you know, in the midst of this risk, and you find the gold, you know, you find the growth. You're like, he's doing something. I want to keep pushing the borders. Like, I want to keep trusting him. Gosh, being forced to trust him, being forced to have faith. And that's hard to do because it does bring pain. It's difficult. Why did you guys do that? Why did you guys take the step of faith and do adoption and fostering and, maybe some things that the Lord has shown you guys in it?
Yeah. My sister's adopted through the foster care system.
Yes.
I mentioned my brother who passed away. It was hard. You're doing the right thing. You bring in a son, you know, for my parents. They brought in a son, and then he dies, and then they lose their job in the church. You know, they get hurt by the church in the midst of all of it. That's bad stuff. So I was averse to it for a while. But it's an interesting thing. I taught through James chapter 1. You know, this is pure and undefiled religion is you would take care of the widows and orphans in their distress and be uncorrupted by the world.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, well, I think I'm in the best position to do it because I know the pitfalls of it. I know what it's like to be a sibling of you know, in the foster care. And then a statistic hit that if one couple out of every third church in America, so not every church. So if there's 3 churches on a block, you just need one couple out of one of those churches. If they were to take in an orphan, there would be no more orphans in America.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I preached that. And then I was like, And I shared about the early church. The thing that set a lot of the early church apart was taking care of widows and orphans. It was counterculture. It doesn't make any sense to take on those things.
Wow.
So they were doing it, and I said these things, and I was like, yeah. So I need to do it. I'm the one. And like, you can't just preach it and then hope it sticks. If you really feel that strongly about it. So we did. We started the process that a few months later, and then we got our first baby. She was born in a crack house, left in a tub to die. And one of the other drug dealers actually called the cops.
Wow.
Thank God for that guy. Mom shot up afterward, So she was addicted to all kinds of drugs. And to hold a baby that's withdrawing is a sobering thing.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
Shaking. So we got to love her. And then I got to see my kids, see what it's like, to bring in a child and then them to love on her. But then I also got to see great hurt in my kids. That's hard. Because at that moment, because an aunt came forward and took her, so we had her, and then she was gone. It was like in a day, they call you. And I watched my daughter like fold into herself and cry. I've never seen my daughter do that. She's a pretty tough girl. She doesn't show emotion. And I watched my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's a lot.
Anyway, so but here's a cool thing. She gets brought on stage at youth.
Yeah.
And she shares.
It's awesome.
I snuck up. She didn't know I was there.
Nice.
It's pretty cool.
Yes.
And she echoes what I told her.
Yeah.
What I just told you. Purpose of life is not to avoid pain. It's to serve God in your pain.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we'll keep going.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Powerful.
We got more kids.
Powerful.
Got more kids. I'll share a photo of all these beautiful kids.
Yes.
If you want.
Pull them up.
So we got more. And the cool thing is, so this baby, 15 text messages, that's great. Yeah. We got this baby, and she went back to her aunt. Well, her aunt's a believer. So she's raising her in the way of the Lord,
Wow.
And we got to be in contact with her, got some pictures and stuff. It's funny, I'm not an emotional dude, really, that much. But in the past 2 years, I'm watching a Geico commercial and it makes me cry. You know what I mean?
No, I know the only two things that breaks me. It's like I literally wonder if I ever had tear ducts. It's the grace of God in my kids.
Kids.
Like nothing else, right? It was
That
just,
will
I just
do it.
feel for babies. I feel for these. I never noticed it before I had kids. I never noticed babies, never noticed kids. And then all of a sudden it's like I have my own. And then now I just can't help it. I can feel all that. Wow. Praise God.
That's our first baby. It's funny.
Wow.
She was grumpy a lot.
Wow. Oh.
That was that was Zanaya.
Wow.
She's another baby.
Amazing.
We got. In the middle there, that's Daisy.
Wow.
So those two girls are sisters or siblings.
Wow.
They're back with their mom, which is super great. Over there on the left, that's James. We had him for a long time. That's the boy I was telling you about. There's James. There's all three of them together. There's my son holding them.
Wow.
Look how beautiful they are.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, the Daisy, she came in the first day and she climbed up on my lap and she was so terrified, but she was just laid down on my shoulder and clutched onto me. It was really cool. Same with James. Just really beautiful moments, together and stuff. Look how cute she is. She's she looks like a cartoon character.
Amazing. These little babies.
A little Who, Here's them dancing. Wow. We love having dance parties.
Yes.
Look how cute she is.
That's the best.
They're all top heavy.
Wow. Yeah.
Just really, really cool. Now we're out of it, but yeah,
The best.
just beautiful. And then here's the kicker. God brought us her,
Mm.
and she's just dedicated on Sunday.
Wow.
And we signed adoption papers last Monday.
Wow.
And,
Praise God, Ray.
you know, the crazy thing is, so we had all these kids and we thought this is it, right? And like weeping when they left. Like,
Yeah.
this is the worst kind of hurt. Like,
Yeah.
probably other than losing a child to
Right.
death or something like
Right.
that. It's just really bad hurt. And thinking, like, this is, I don't know if I can keep doing this, you know?
Right.
We started visits with James, with his parents, and that was getting really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I was leading worship, and I'm driving home, and I get a text message from our missions pastor, and he said, "Hey, someone in our jail ministry has a baby. She just got saved, and she wants to give up her baby for adoption. Do you know anybody?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take her. You know, I'll take the baby." So we call and we start meeting with her in prison, and this was last October.
Wow.
We meet with her every other week, and we're getting to know her. She tells us it's twins. We're like, "Oh my gosh, it's twins. I guess we'll do twins." You know.
Wow.
The doctor was wrong. It wasn't twins. And she goes into labor in January. We get a call. I remember it's 2 a.m. This is the, Orange County jail. We're like, "Oh, we know what that means. You know, your baby's coming, come on out." My wife's getting ready. They call back. They said, "Never mind, don't come." We're like, "What?" She changed her mind. She doesn't want you to take the baby. What? I was like, crap. It's like, I'm trying to do the right thing here, and just keep getting battered, And so I told my wife, I was like, "Go down there anyway. Just go down there anyway." So she goes down there anyway and tries to get in. They're like, no. She doesn't want you to come. She changed her mind. We had hired lawyers. It's very expensive. And they said, "Go home. I'm sorry, but we're done." So then she calls and she's like, "I'm going to stay. I'm going to go to Starbucks and just hang out just in case." So she does. She goes. And then, so I'm waiting at home. I got the kids, I have James. He's got to go to a visit, all these kind of things. And we get another call. Okay, so she's in prison, and we informed her that social services is going to take the baby away. And so she said, "Oh, can Ray and Erin take the baby?" And so would you be interested in just being the baby's foster parents? Whatever it's going to take this baby.
Wow.
Fine. So she's in the NICU for 2 days. We get to take her home. She's 2 days old.
Wow.
We've had her ever since. Whoa. That was in January. And then,
Praise God.
In July, we got word that parental rights, or, because she never reached out. She never pursued.
Oh.
We love her. We I hope the best for her. She got released from prison. We don't know where she is.
Wow.
I still pray for her.
Yes.
Anyway, they said, "Okay, now you're on the track to adopt." And
amazing.
So we got to do it. And all the while, there's this opportunity at church in Illinois. And I'm like, I don't know if I can, we got a foster kid, we can't do this. And God just lined it up. Like, adoption is going to be final November 20th, and we're going to fly out.
Wow.
November 23rd.
Wow.
To go and be in Illinois.
Unreal. Brand new start, brand new place. How long have you had this baby?
She is 9.5 months old now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Yep.
Yeah, that process of, little kids, dude, they're just the best, like you can't help. They're just going to, little babies are the best, man. The little joy factories, they just they want to love you. They want to be around you. They want to smile at you. They want to laugh. They want to have fun. They just want to have a blast, It's so cute, man. Oh my gosh.
Like, beautiful.
Yes.
She's so beautiful.
And
oh, here's a picture of us on signing day.
Wow. Praise God. Man, you guys are blessed, Ray. Sheesh. And you guys are, you're brave. You're courageous, man. You're just swinging for the fence, and I love it, man. It's inspiring, and it, look what God has done. It's like new adventure after new adventure, and And though it is difficult, you take risk, and it's always treacherous. Abraham, leave your land, not knowing where you're going, just get after it. And it's like, wait, where am I going? I don't know, but just pursue me and watch what happens. And now your family has grown, and praise God, and you have taken a position as lead pastor. Wow, Ray.
Yeah.
From picking up an acoustic lead in worship at a Bible study in Ramona High School.
Yep.
You've taken over a church in Illinois.
Yeah.
And the brand new chapter with the brand new baby in a new city, in a new town with your fam. And dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
This you'll be heading there November 23rd.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's looking like it. Yeah.
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 So this is coming up soon.
Right after Thanksgiving, basically.
Well, Ray, you've been on my list to come on the podcast for quite some time.
Not the top, though.
Yeah, forgive me, Ray.
I'm just kidding.
Forgive me. And so
Before Greg Laurie, though, so that's cool.
that's true. Shout out Pastor Greg.
Your move, Greg Laurie.
Pastor Greg has said he'd come on the show. He's just, he's Pastor Greg.
He'll come on.
He'll come on eventually. But I got Raymond Gregory on.
Yeah, Raymond Gregory.
And dude, I wanted to. We're pushing on time. We're gonna go get lunch, but I wanted to. You've been married almost 2 decades, and you got an awesome marriage, and no doubt with many lows and many highs, ups and downs, as every marriage has. But you guys are charging together, man. You're doing ministry. You and your wife have experienced ministry, which a lot of couples do not experience. She's married to a rock star, which a lot of women are not experiencing. She's married to a guy who takes risks and pushes the line. And I'd love to hear some of your not secrets, but some of your secrets to marriage, some of your, again, some gold that you found along the way, just things that have been life-giving for you and Erin. I don't know, things that she talks about, things that you talk about that have really maybe just helped you along the way. You've whether you realize it or not. I mean, Katie and I we're 12 years now. And so you guys have got some time on us. And I'm always looking for the gold and the silver. I'm always looking to steal bags of coins from my friends because it's just not easy. It's not easy being married. It's not easy in this day and age, and it's not easy to stay married. And all the gold that we can pass on to each other and to those listening, I think is super helpful. And so I'd love to hear anything you want to share on those.
Yeah, that's good, man. Well, first, parents won't like this, but definitely get married young.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
When did you guys get married?
I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah, she was 20. We're a year and a half apart.
Okay.
So just kind of landed that way. But
yeah. The lead guitarist and the saxophone player.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're not the same people. When you're 18 and now I'm 38.
Right.
Sorry, 38? Yeah, 38. Wow. See, that's how old I am. I don't even know how old I am.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
We're getting old, Ray.
Yeah. Well, when you said I've been leading worship for 20 years, I think I grew like 2 gray hairs. It never dawned on me. No, I've been married almost 20.
I'm 41, dude. I'm 41, and I can't believe it.
And no gray hair.
Hey, don't look close. That's only because I remove it.
Right. Yeah.
Every week.
It's gone.
Every week.
Yeah. Just for men,
Just for men. Remove it. Just shave it.
In fact, that's the sponsor of our podcast today. It's Just for Men Gel. You look so natural, no one can tell, but Just for Men Gel.
Did you record that, Dave? We're selling it to him. Royalties.
Yeah, free advertising.
Pastor Greg told me, he said bald men can stay young forever if they want to. He said that's the trick. You just, you're bald when you're young, you're bald when you're old. Nobody knows how old you are.
That's true. That's all I have to say. Get married young if you can.
Yes.
When you start settling into your own thing, very counterculture, and people read it all the time. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife. Mm-hmm. There's a progression there. Number one, you're you're leaving your household and being joined to your wife. The other thing is that's super counterculture in the ancient world, right? The man doesn't leave the household. He takes on the wife into his household. But God said, leave and cleave. Like, you're going to leave your father and your mother. That's a sacrifice. What did Jesus do? That's a picture of Jesus, right? Jesus did not count equality with God as something to be grasped, but he humbled himself as a servant. Jesus left and came to be married to his bride. Very beautiful thing. And that's what we're called to do. It says right there in Ephesians that, everybody loves the wives, respect your husband. And then husbands, love your wives. The ramifications of the word love is so much harder to do than respect sometimes, right? As Christ loves the church,
Right.
and gave his life for her, you need to do that. I tell people in pre-marriage counseling, you give your life. You don't give up on your life. You give your life. Because I think a lot of people think, all right, this is the end. I get the ball and chain. She's locked me down. Time to give up, right? No. You give your life. You don't give up on your life. Your life changes.
Yes.
Grow up. It's not your desires to pursue your hobbies are now second, or really third or fourth.
Totally.
To loving your wife.
Right.
You become one flesh. That doesn't mean that you lose individuality, but you do lose autonomy. Right?
It's good.
You're not autonomous anymore.
Right.
You're in this together. You're for each other. This isn't like a battle. There's a lot of bad cultural stuff when it comes to marriage. And if you're constantly pursuing, which I'm not always doing, obviously nobody can, what's right for your family in the Lord, above all things, not comfort, not money,
right,
not power, position, all the things that people tell you to do, not curating your Instagram to make it look good, but truly, loving the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then letting that carry you into your marriage. And then, like you said, taking risks. Like, I like to take risks and things. My wife's like, I love that you like to run fast and do things. I just wish you had better timing. She's like, you decided to sign up for foster care right after I totaled my car.
Right. Wow. Right.
We were down to one car.
Right.
I was like, yeah, but God told me to do it. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
You're deciding to do a major career shift and move us across the country when our adoption's not even final. So there's some ebbs and flows there.
Yes.
You want to make sure that you're not just dictating what you're doing, but you're inspiring the Spirit of the Lord to confirm those things in your wife. That's a part of loving your wife. Is not just saying, well, I've thought it out and this is what we need to do, but like coming down and saying, what do you think we need to do? Maybe I'm wrong in these things. And she's a helper suitable. She's a counterpart. I will make him a helper suitable for him. The problem is when we look at it just as a suitable helper, we can easily move on or get angry when she no longer suits us. That's not what it is. She's your counterpart. She's a helper against him. She's a mirror image. She's equal parts different and the same all at once. One flesh. So realizing that her role in your life isn't to be at odds with you, but sometimes to be a helper against you, in the ways that you're not supposed to go, and so just really grabbing hold of that. Happiness isn't the purpose of your marriage. Glorifying God is the purpose of your marriage.
Wow. Amen.
Remember Forrest Ricard?
Yes.
Worked at Harvest?
Yeah, Forrest.
He did our pre-marriage, and he said, what can you accomplish together that you can't accomplish for the Lord apart? I was like, that's good. Remember Pastor Ralph?
Yes.
In heaven?
Yes.
He said, in the garden they were naked. That means fully exposed and unashamed. So you need to be fully exposed and unashamed.
Wow.
And if anything that is fully exposed is something you're ashamed of, then you need to get rid of it in your life.
Wow.
Always stuck with me. What a wise guy.
Totally.
So, she's got the code of your phone. She knows everything about, there's no mine and yours. It's ours. It's really the Lord's. Humility is a big part of it. Being, setting up safeguards, even in, take heed unless you fall, in those areas that you think you're strong, you probably aren't strong, honoring her in what you watch, honoring her in what you listen to, honoring her even when she's not looking, showing your son, your daughter, if you have kids, what it's like to love their mother. I don't do it right. Trust me, I don't. But I try, and then find literally the perfect woman. Just do that, because that's what I did. It seemed to work out for me.
You a good man, Ray.
Like, just find it. And,
Yes.
I know it's hard for everyone else, but not for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, marriage is not easy, but I think probably it can be and is the most rewarding place on the planet. For you get to experience God's love. You get to experience His grace. You get to experience His forgiveness at the depths you will never get to experience in any place else on the planet. I mean, no place else. No one will forgive you as much as your spouse. No one will show you as much grace as your spouse. No one will show you God's love like your spouse. And when you go through the depths of darkness together and grace comes on the other side, you grow exponentially. Like, you can't believe it. Like, you're blown away by God once again through your wife, through your husband. And no, I love this. Humility is a major part, and you contrasted that with, when you first get married, you giving up, autonomy, and humility is a difficult shirt to put on. And a sweater to put on, and a jacket to put on. And we get to look at the Lord Jesus, putting that on for us and setting aside everything. But for it to come forth in real time in dishes and cleaning up things and helping where help is needed and listening without responding and communication and all that stuff is just... It's we know it in theory, but it's so difficult to pull off in real time, especially when emotions are running, and it's we're in a difficult situation. But I love that you said, this covenant and or this commitment, this moment where we're leaving and cleaving to one another. We're making the decision. We're leaving everybody else. And we're cleaving to one another for the rest of our lives. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. And we're going to cling to the Lord and hope that He does it. And you guys are doing it. I don't know. I'm blessed by your guys' marriage, blessed by your guys' family, ministered to by what you're doing, Ray, from a distance, Where can people find you and keep up with all that's going on?
It's just RaymondGregory.com. That's probably the best.
RaymondGregory.com, and you can find Ray on social media platforms, of course. Yep. And you can now find him as the lead pastor of Cross Church in Illinois. And so he'll be flying out end of November, show up at that service there on Sunday morning. And or if you know people who live in Illinois, tell them to drive down and go support.
You should. It's literally a movie set.
Is it really?
Dude, well, I mean, it looks like a movie set. Like, it's like people have filmed there. It's Abraham Lincoln practiced law there.
Wow.
It's like American history there.
Wow.
It's from the 1850s or something. Beautiful, beautiful town. You should move there. God's calling you.
Yes.
We need more.
He may be.
Yeah.
He may be. You're listening right now. He may be calling you.
He might be.
Pray about it.
Yeah.
You have music online people can find as well on all platforms, sermons on YouTube, and all kinds of things you can find about Ray. And I hope you keep writing music. I hope you keep preaching. I hope you keep writing.
Yeah.
I hope you keep podcasting. I love your stuff, Ray. You're thinking about things deeply. You're taking time to answer questions online. You're doing things that I wish more preachers would do.
Yeah. You get attacked.
Yeah.
From the trolls and stuff, but it's all fake.
Yeah. The trolls are hilarious.
It's all fake.
Just laugh emoji at all of them.
Yeah. I like to poke them.
Poke the troll, see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, dude, love you, brother.
I love you.
I'm I hope you won't be far. I know you'll be in Illinois, but you always have a home here in California. Come hang out anytime you're in LA, you're in SoCal. And yeah, thanks for all the years of ministry.
Yeah.
Long journey, right? Long 20 years and counting. And who knows, maybe one day old men, 70, 80-year-olds sitting together, still talking about all the great things the Lord has done.
I really, really hope that's true. Or, we'll be in heaven worshiping perfectly.
Amen.
Before the throne. For the two people that are watching this, because I shared it. Hi, Grandma. I'm just kidding. She doesn't know how to use YouTube.
Yeah.
This is, if you're in LA, which I assume some people watching this are in LA, this is the church you want to be at.
Amen. Thanks, Ray.
Pastor Josh Thompson, Legacy City Church. God's doing a work. There's plenty of churches in LA where you can feel good. There's plenty of churches in LA where you can get a show, but you'll get the Word of God, and it'll be faithfully taught. And not only that, He will actually love you. Yeah. See, they're all nodding yes right over there. They can't see it, but it's true. You're a good man. You're a good pastor.
Thanks, Ray. Love you, brother. Come back on the podcast anytime you want.
All right.
All right. Let's go get some lunch.
Yep.